Hi, my name is Idalis Williams, and this is my mind map. The central images of my mind map are that of a literacy-rich classroom environment. You will find a teacher at a guided reading table, a leveled library, genre-themed and comfortable reading area, children reading on cozy furniture, and a teacher's benchmark assessment kit. My mind map shows the timeline of reading instruction evolved. Okay, starting with the 18th century, the McGuffey Readers were the most popular book of that time period. The 1900s. During this time, reading and teaching of reading was believed to be an appreciation or love of literature, but we all know it was not that simple. In 1908, Edmund Burke Huey defined that there was a separation in reading instruction and literature, which was key. Moving up, we have the era of reading research from 1914 to 1919. And it was Hubbard Judd who found that there was a difference between oral and silent reading. And there were major research key players during this time period. Their names are listed in that area. So this was a very groundbreaking time in research. And it was Horn who discovered that spelling pretest should be a regular practice that's also commonly done today, as well as student interest. So this is a very important time period. It was Edward Thorndike who determined that reading equals thinking, and this is where the reading teacher truly emerges. This is so essential for this determination to be made. Reading was going to become, because of him, known as an elaborate procedure, and we started to look at reading instruction more closely than we had in the past. Okay, moving up to the 1930s and 1940s, the infamous Basel Readers, which included your teacher workbook, along with a series of pre-planned lessons. You also have the Dick and Jane readers, which were the look and see readers. Look and say, rather. Okay. And moving along up, we have the turning point. In the 1950s through the 1960s. In the 1950s, there is a major change in this decade. We really start to see a shift toward developmental reading programs and instructional strategies, a lot of which influences the way that we teach reading today. So we're returning to those old methods of writing and reading drills and focusing on the instruction. Specifically, what about the kids that can't read? Okay, moving along. One key person during this time period is Felice, and the author of Why Johnny Can't Read, and that is where we started to get a lot of these developmental reading programs and instructional strategies start surfacing during this time period. One of them being SQ3R. That was a very influential one. We also have Kenneth Goodman and the miscuing and cueing system surfacing at this time period. And this would offer a window into comprehension and start to actually analyze the errors that students were making in order to figure out how to help them become better readers. So we have some analysis of research going on here. Okay, moving down to the 1960s, the best approach to reading and writing. We have Shaw's Reading Principles, which is another key point in the history of reading instruction. They focused on things such as small group instruction, from first grade, focusing on comprehension, application, word recognition, as well as frequency of words. So these reading principles were actually funded to try to put to rest over the debate of what the best way to instruct upon reading would be. So this was a very influential period. That brings us down here on my mind map to the 1970s. Okay, and in the 1970s, they started to look at the social inequality aspects of reading. Was the playing field leveled? Is there reading instruction given to all in the same form, the same quality? And that's when we began to focus on high quality literacy activities, and the whole language theory emerged. So we began to lean toward child-centered instruction and active social learning experiences and all those teachable moments that we actually use today. I'm going to go ahead and move this over so that we can get to the other side. Okay, so the reading wars are still at large, trying to determine what the best practice for reading instruction truly is. Okay, so we have a nation of readers at risk and at war. We're in the 1980s now. So there's a lot of talk about failing schools. There's a lot of talk about a needed education reform. There's the phonics versus the whole language versus the balance approach. And we really need to figure out which method is the best. So we're in search of a balance. Okay, so with this education reform coming to practice, we move toward the 1990s, and we get to the end of a war because we have a balance between phonics instruction and whole language. And Marilyn Adams published her controversial book that focused on helping struggling readers, and it was key in this time period of the 1990s. So we finally found that balance that was needed. Moving toward 1999, we have the Reading Excellence Program. Okay, and this Reading Excellence Program was so key. This gave us basically like guidelines that instruction should be high quality, that research should be scientifically based, and you really start to see that they're taking a look at what rights children have, and what our responsibility as educators is to them. We also get family literacy programs, early intervention, scientifically based research, as I stated, so this is a key time. The National Reading Panel and Teaching Children to Read. Okay, this is going to take us from 1999 up towards 2000. And when the National Reading Panel found that phonics instruction is key to reading, guided, repeated oral reading is key. Intensive phonics instruction, fluency, all these things would be would come to pass, and it would become necessary for every teacher to implement this within their classroom. And they knew that it wouldn't be without professional development that something like this would take place. So it really was the legislation from the Reading Excellence Program and the National Reading Panel that would really be so life-changing to the development of reading instruction. Then you have in No Child Left Behind, George Bush's education reform plan that pushed for accountability. 2009, the National Reading Conference. And finally, in 2011, the Common Core ELA standards. And the Common Core ELA standards basically tell us what students are expected to learn regardless of where they live in the United States. Okay, for them to graduate and be successful, whether they're to choose a path of college or career readiness. The rigor is high, the content promotes a higher order of thinking, and that's where we are today. But it would not have been without all these areas that were highlighted in the mind map that reading instruction was evolved from. Thank you for listening.